As a man departed from his residence, his attention was captivated by an intriguing sight during his stroll. Upon further examination, he discerned that it was an ailing canine on the brink of its existence. In the Rostov region, a remarkable tale swiftly swept through the entire country. At its center stood a man whose life became intertwined with a transformative event, altering not only his own existence but also that of others. This young man, Alexander, aged 23, embarked on a remarkable endeavor that garnered widespread admiration. The unfolding of this tale took place in the city of Novocherkassk, where Alexander resided. On a bitter winter day amidst the heart of January, Alexander followed his customary routine. After dressing for the day, he stepped out of his house, commencing his usual walk. Along the way, chance encounters with neighbors or friends were not uncommon. However, fate had something entirely different in store for him. Not far from his residence, Alexander's attention was drawn to an unusual object. Although it remained still, he discerned that it was a living being. As he approached, a sense of heaviness settled in his heart. Regrettably, the creature lying on the ground was an injured dog, suffering greatly. Alexander knelt by the poor dog, heartbroken at the sight of the wound. Although the dog was in a bad state, it was still alive and breathing. Some people might hesitate to lend a helping hand because they may not have the time or the resources. However, all that Alexander could think about in that moment was trying to help the injured dog in any way possible. A wave of urgency came over Alexander as he took the dog into his arms because they were close to Alexander's home. They were also close to his car. As soon as Alexander gently placed the canine down, he hurried over to the driver's seat. Fortunately for the dog, the drive to the local vet did not take long. Once again, Alexander held the dog as he walked into the veterinary clinic. His heart pounded as the vets took the dog from him. Immediately, the vets got to work, sedating the dog in order to ease its suffering. The clinic was professional and efficient, bringing together a collective effort to help the poor creature. Mishka was incredibly lucky to have been left close to Alexander's house, since the man cared very deeply for animals and their safety. It would make sense for a lot of people to be scared of getting involved with a situation such as this one. However, Alexander genuinely believes that helping animals is always the right thing to do, and that other people should take a page out of his book. They should take action if someone or something needs it. Although money can often be a problem when it comes to healthcare, Mishka was lucky enough to receive support from people all over the country. Usually the cost of rehabilitation can be expensive, and yet Mishka was able to get all the essential treatments done for free. The reason as to why this was the case was because a total of 60,000 rubles was raised in order to fund the dog's needs. The sharing of the story online led to a range of Russian people voluntarily pitching in, moved with sympathy to help the dog out. However, this was more than enough, and so the rest of the money was put into another cause. Many people are like Alexander. They are passionate about saving animals. This is why the leftover money that was donated to Mishka was then used to set up an animal shelter. In this shelter, several other strays or abandoned dogs like Mishka were able to find safety and shelter. The vets tried to find out more information about Mishka. It turned out that this fluffy dog was only a year old and must have been targeted purely out of coincidence. It turned out that Mishka was actually well known in the area. Many of the locals often saw the dog walking around and appreciated its friendly nature. Sometimes the dog was lucky enough to receive food from these kind people. All of them were heartbroken to hear about what had happened to the dog. Much to everyone's joy, the operation was a successful one. The team managed to get the crossbow arrows out, leaving the dog with nothing more than a couple of stitches. In order to prevent any infection, the dog had been prescribed antibiotics. After all of this, the dog was finally given a name. They called him Mishka. After the operation, Mishka instantly felt better. Luckily, the injury had only affected his skull and the rest of his body was unaffected. Although impact to the skull could potentially affect someone's memory, the dog was able to remember the face of the man who had saved his life. Once Mishka was in control of his body again, the first thing he did surprised everyone. Alexander waited patiently outside the operation room, worried for Mishka. As soon as he saw the dog walk out of the room, he was overjoyed. Everyone watched in amazement as Mishka used his little legs to run up to Alexander. The dog's excitement was infectious, and all of the vets smiled at the sight of the rescue dog and his rescuer. Sensing the animal's gratitude, Alexander's mood swiftly lifted from worried to elated. The recovery process for the operation did not take long. After no more than 2 weeks, Mishka looked and felt just as he did before the tragic accident. Fortunately for the dog, Alexander has been by his side throughout it all. Although Alexander had already done enough by finding Mishka and handing him over to the vet, he couldn't bring himself to part ways just yet. When Mishka returned to full health, the next big priority became finding him a home. Despite the fact that he was appreciated by the local villages, homelessness is never the ideal situation for a dog, especially one as social as Mishka. However, this was a problem that didn't last for long because the events led to the canine meeting another person who he would never be able to thank enough. This person is Irina. She was a nurse who lived in the same region as Alexander in Novocherkass. She was one of the many people who had heard about the unfortunate event. Irina's heart broke when she found out, unable to believe that there are people out there who would potentially harm another living creature. Irina's job required her to think about the health and safety of people, and she was an empathetic person to say the least. It was clear during Irina and Mishka's first meeting that the two were meant to be together. The shelter that took Mishka in after the operation had a lot of positive things to say about her. The name of the shelter was the Svatavo shelter, and the director's name is Olda Mosiak. Olda was there when Irina entered the shelter and saw the immediate change in Mishka's disposition. Everyone knows that when a dog is happy, their tails wag. Mishka was no exception to this. The moment he spotted Ire, his tail began to swing around rapidly. Mishka climbed into Irina's arms, eager to get close to this new person. However, it didn't look as if the two were strangers. Rather, that comfort and happiness they exuded made it seem as if they had known each other for years. Despite their recent acquaintance, it was evident that Mishka, the dog, had developed a strong attachment to Irina. Consequently, the canine now resides in Irina's apartment, benefiting from her stable income as an ambulance worker, which affords them a spacious living environment. This home is an ideal setting for pets, particularly an energetic dog like Mishka. Given his troubled past as a stray, Mishka has found unparalleled joy in his newfound abode and the affectionate care of his owner. Additionally, Alexander makes occasional visits to check on Mishka, much to the dog's delight. While Mishka's physical wounds may have healed completely, his emotional scars remain, manifesting in occasional fear when venturing outside or encountering unfamiliar men. However, this fear is not permanent, as many shelter volunteers firmly believe that Mishka will gradually overcome these anxieties. Even as a stray, Mishka was always cherished and well-behaved, instilling confidence in everyone that he will thrive as a beloved pet under Irina's guidance and with the unwavering emotional support from compassionate individuals across the country. There is no doubt that Mishka will continue to flourish and make remarkable progress in his journey towards a better life. What did you think of the story? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you liked this story. Please share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.